you have to be unreasonable to move the conversation forward. The 15-hour work week is probably my favorite part of your book. How does that even begin to work?
Yeah, well, it goes back to a very old idea, actually, of the economist John Maynard Keynes. He wrote this essay in 1930 that sort of made two predictions. The first prediction was, we're going to be a lot richer in the future, right? If we don't make stupid mistakes like start another world war or have austerity during times of crisis. Well, we did that, but anyway, we'll be a lot richer, and then we'll use that wealth to work a little bit less each year. And then he just extrapolated and said, we'll have a 15-hour work week in 2030. The fascinating thing, again, from the historical perspective, is that up until the 70s, we were on track to make it. The work week was shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And the experts were predicting that the biggest challenge of the future was going to be boredom. It's only around 1980 that, throughout the developed world, we've been starting to working more and more, and we've been keeping on inventing these jobs that don't really need to exist. Right? So people sitting in offices, sending emails all day to people they don't really like, and writing reports no one's ever going to read, right? So that's what the academic term is bullshit jobs.
Yes. Yeah, it's just like basically you just sit there and then you're just like, to whom it may concern, reply all, as per my last email, etc., etc. Yes,
exactly,
that's half of my day.
But then the fascinating thing is that most of these jobs, are people who have wonderful resumes, who went to great universities and have wonderful job titles, but then still at the end of the day, they're like, you know what, I could go on strike and no one would notice. So in the book, I've got this story of two strikes that happened in the 60s. The first strike was of garbage collectors. New York, 1968, lasted for 6 days. State of emergency had to be declared. Turns out, we can't do without garbage collectors.
Right.
So at that point, I wondered, has it ever happened, in history, that the bankers went on strike? So I started looking, looked at the past 5,000 years, basically, since the invention of money, and I found only one example, and this was in Ireland, 1970. The bankers were angry that their wages were not keeping up with inflation, so they said, you know what, you'll have it. We're going to go on strike, and then you'll see just how important we are. And all the experts were like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. It's going to be a heart attack for the economy. And then from one day till the other day, 85% of the money supply was not accessible anymore. And then nothing much happened, actually. So the strike lasted for 6 months in the end. And after 6 months, the bankers came back and said, all right, we'll get back to work. And I think this is another example where history just makes you rethink, right? Who are the real wealth creators in this country? Does wealth really, is it really created at the top and then does it trickle down? Or maybe it's the other way around, and are the teachers and the garbage collectors and the nurses, are they the real wealth creators?